Hello, welcome to AN community. In this particular video, we are going to discuss the one of the very important concept in the context of Roga Nidana, that is the identifying abnormal dosha in the body. How to identify the abnormal functions that are happening in the body, that is being discussed in this particular video. Whenever whenever you think about the abnormal dosha, we need to know about the functions of the normal dosha also. When you think about this, the textbook says regarding various definitions of dosha as per the different Ayurveda textbooks. Among that, these are the following that is being mentioned there. Ashtanga Sangraha, it says Dushana Swabhavat Dosha iti. Sharangadhara says Sharira Dushanat Dosha. Ashtanga Hridaya, Arunadatta commentary, Dushayanti iti dosha. So that means these are the factors or bioenergies, what we can say, that are present in the body, which may have a tendency to have the abnormal functioning if slightest conducive environment occurs for the abnormal increase. That is considered to be dosha as such. Further, Chakrapani says, dosho hi swatantra dushanatmaka uchyate. So that means the one which is independently responsible for the abnormal functioning of the body. So that is considered to be dosha. Chakrapa Madhukosha says that is the Prakrityarambhakasthi sati Dushtikartritvam doshatvam. So that is when you think about that Prakriti Arambhakatve sati, it is by the naturally it is responsible for the normal functioning, but slightest conducive environment may lead to total disturbed functioning of the human body, that is considered to be dosha. Dushayati manaha shariram cheti dosha. That is, the dosha are those which are considered to be responsible for the disturbed functioning of the manaha, that is the psyche, as well as the sharira, that is physique. So in other words, dosha that is considered to be a bioenergy, by normally they are not responsible for the manifestation of the disease, but the slightest increase or slightest exposure to etiological factor may lead to total disturbed functioning of the human body. This is the first thing. And independent in disease manifestation. This is not depending upon the any other factors, wherein the dhatu, that is rasa, rakta, etc., they are depending upon the dosha to have the disease manifestation. Whereas dosha, they are not depending upon the other factors, dhatu or mala. So, in other words, if you look into that in summary, dosha, that's a very relative term. So that means when the person is having the depending upon the nature of the etiological factor exposure, the person may be having the totally atypical functioning or the atypical dysfunction that's observed in the body as such. Let us look into this particular the dosha with one possible example there. Whenever if you think about this particular etiology, let us say this is the gobi Manchurian that is being consumed by an individual. Suppose if the particular preparation is having snigdhata, little bit in that particular situation, excess oil as such, so that will be leading to increase of snigdhata of the pitta or kapha dosha in the body. That means if there is excess oil that is being poured into this particular substance, then there may be a possibility of snigdha guna increase in the body. Or otherwise, instead, if it is having the red chili or a green chili, in that particular situation, it is not the snigdha guna that is going to get increased. It is responsible for the increase of the ruksha ushna guna in the body or tikshna guna in the body that is going to get increased. Suppose if there is one red chili is being added, that may lead to mild increase of Pitta Dosha in the body. If 2 red chilies are being added, then that may lead to moderate increase of Pitta Dosha in the body. If 3 or more chili are being added, then that may lead to severe increase of Pitta Dosha in the body. Or otherwise, there may be a possibility of increased percentage Laghuta. In that particular sense, if Katurasa that is being taken in excess, then there may be a possibility of increase of Laghuta in the body. Thereby, there may be a possibility of increase of Laghutva that is going to take place of either Pitta Dosha or Vata Dosha in the body. In other words, depending upon the depending upon the nature of etiological factor, the person may be having the altered physiology, which is nothing but the pathology itself. So, when you think about from the Western understanding, if there is the consumption of red chili is being taken, so that will be leading to inflammation to happen in the alimentary canal. Thereby, there will be the influx of the fluid that is going to take place from the alimentary canal into the from the intravascular compartment into the blood capillaries into the gastrointestinal lumen. Thereby, there will be responsible for the inflammation to take place there. When you think about the cell and dosha, so when you think about the cellular level, any movement taking place in the cell, for example, movement of the nutrients from the cell membrane to the nucleus, or from the cell membrane to the Golgi bodies, etc., they are considered to be happening because of the Vata dosha. And any transformation of the macromolecules into the micromolecules in the cell, or the reverse transformation of micromolecules into macromolecules, they are considered to be because of the Pitta dosha. And any kind of the compactness of the cell, or the rigidity or solidity of the cell, they are considered to be happening because of the Kapha dosha there. Or otherwise, when you think about the human body, any movement happening in the alimentary canal, that is the movement of the oxygen from the nose to the lungs, or movement of the food from the mouth to stomach, or the movement of the micronutrients from the heart to the other cells, etc., they are considered to be happening because of the Vata dosha. Or the movement of the new metabolites from the kidney to the exterior, that is considered to be happening because of the Vata dosha. And any kind of the transformation, that is macromolecules into micromolecules, happening in the alimentary canal, they are considered to be due to the Pitta dosha. And any compactness or rigid structure to the body, that is considered to be happening because of the Kapha dosha. What do you mean by abnormal dosha then? When you think about the whole human individual, you have to frequently inquire with them. Suppose if the person is having the passing the bowels once in a day from the past several years or so, that may be normal situation. Suppose on one particular fine day, the same individual is passing the bowels up to 10 times, that is considered to be abnormal functioning of Vata dosha there. In this way, as we have discussed earlier, the dosha, abnormal functioning of the dosha, that could be a relative term as such. So that means one particular individual may have a constipation, but the same degree in another individual, that particular person may not say it is a constipation as such. He may say simply a bloating sensation. In that way, this abnormal functioning, that could be considered to be a relative term as such. When you think about the dosha and panchamahabhuta, so if the person is having the consumption of substances of prithvi and updominance, there may be a possibility of a kapha dosha increase. Suppose if the person is consuming the substances of tejo mahabhuta dominance, there may be a possibility of pitta dosha increase in the body. And if there is if the individual is consuming the substances of Vayu and Akasha Mahabhuta, there may be a possibility of increase of Vata dosha in the body. So, in this way, we have to identify which particular Mahabhuta dominance an individual is consuming. Based on that, we can able to predict what might be the dosha increase, maybe normal or abnormal, that can be analyzed. Further, based on the rasa of a substance, also we can able to predict the possible abnormal increase in the body. For example, if the person is consuming madhura rasa substances, then there may be a possibility of increase of kapha dosha in the body. If the person is consuming amla rasa as well as lavana rasa substances in excess, there may be a possibility of increase of kapha or pitta dosha in the body. If the person is consuming katu rasa substances in excess, there may be a possibility of increase of the vata as well as pitta dosha in the body. So here there are different examples are being given for different rasa substances. For example, madhura rasa substances, one example, that is sugar. For amla rasa substance, there may be the example of tomato. Lavana rasa substances, table salt. Katu rasa substance, that is red chili. And tikta rasa substance, as such, it is a bitter gourd. And kashaya rasa substance, it's the one of the example, that is the medication, that is haritaki or terminalia chebula, can be considered as an examples of these different tastes as such. Suppose if the person is consuming these substances in excess, that may lead to the increase of those different dosha that is being depicted in this particular tabular form. When you think about the guna of the dosha, it is being mentioned that the Ashtanga Hridaya says, Tatra rukshu laghu shitaha kara sukshmaschalo vanilaha pittam sasneh tikshnoshtum laghu visram saram dravam snigdha shito gurur mandash lakshno mritsnaha sthiraha kafa. When you think about the guna of the different dosha, that is being considered, Vata dosha is having the ruksha, that is dry, laghu, that is light to digest, shita, cold in touch or potency, khara, that is considered to be rough, sukshma, that is minute as such, and chala, that is unstable or mobility, increased mobility as such. Whereas pitta dosha is having the guna such as snigdha, that is unctuousness, tikshna, that is sharp quality, ushna, that is hot in potency, laghu, that is light to digest, misra, a specific smell, sara, that is unstable as such, or drava, that is liquid in nature. Whereas kapha dosha is having the qualities, that is snigdha, as we have discussed earlier, unctuous, cheta, cold in touch or potency, guru, that is heavy to digest, manda, that is they very slow to movement, slakshna, in the sense it could be slimy, mritsna, that is the muddy consistency, sthira, that is firm. So here there are the several colors are being made. For example, snigdha as such, that is being having the red color. When you think about that, if a person is consuming snigdha rasa or snigdha guna substances, there may be a possibility of the increase of either pitta or kapha dosha in the body. Similarly, the purple colored, that is shita guna, is being made in purple color. So if the person is consuming these particular substances as such, there may be a possibility of either vata dosha increase or kapha dosha abnormal increase as such. Whereas the green color depicting the Laghu Guna as such, that is light to digest. If the person is consuming the substances which are having Laghu Guna, there may be a possibility of increase of either Vata or Pitta dosha in the body. Like that, we have to be very particular to know about the possible increase of guna in the body. How to identify these guna increase in the body as such? That is by looking into the karma. So that is the Ashtanga Hridaya says Guru Manda Himasnigda Shlashno Sandra Mridustiraha Gunaha Sasukshma Vishada Vimshatihi Saviparyayaha. So that is these are the Vimshati Guna, 20 gunas or Sharirika gunas, which are considered to be physical qualities which are having the specific abnormal functioning that can happen there. So let us say, for example, it is Shoshane Rukshaha. In the sense, when a person is consuming the substances, that is dry substances, such as the poha, if the person is consuming in excess, what actually happens is that will be responsible for increased secretions to happen from the capillaries of stomach or small intestine or large intestine, which will be leading to the shrinkage of intravascular compartment. So that is what we can say, that is considered to be Shoshana karma is happening. So that is being depicted by the blue colored arrow. So that where there will be excess movement of the fluid that will be taking place from the capillaries of stomach or small intestine, large intestine. Thereby, shrinkage of intravascular compartment may take place. Later, there may be a possibility of shrinkage of interstitial compartment, and later there may be a possibility of intracellular compartment shrinkage may take place. In other words, there may be a possibility of a reduction of a body fluid may take place. So, with this particular small background, let us look into the what are the possible abnormal dosha that can be said in the texts as such that we are going to discuss today. That is, these are the possible different normal or abnormal functions, abnormal dosha depiction that will be mentioned in the text, that is Sanchita Dosha, that is Kupita Dosha, Stambhita Dosha, Paridhavamana Dosha, NItya Samshleshita Dosha, Paricchedita Dosha, Leena Dosha, Vriddha Dosha, Kshina Dosha, Dushta Dosha, and Bahu Dosha. These are the different terminologies which are depicting abnormal dosha in the body that is being highlighted. Now let us look into these different terminologies in brief. For example, Sanchita Dosha. Eshu sanchiyante dosha, eshu sthaneshu dosha sanchayam yanti ityarthaha. So that means there will be accumulation of the dosha take place in the alimentary canal. For example, the kapha dosha accumulation that is going to take place in the urdhva amashaya, and pitta dosha accumulation may take place in the adho amashaya, and vata dosha accumulation may take place in the pakvashaya. In other words, the abnormal accumulation of kapha dosha may take place in the stomach, abnormal accumulation of these pitta dosha may take place in the small intestine, and abnormal accumulation of vata dosha may take place in the large intestine. So this is what we can say, the Sanchita Dosha, wherein Sanchita Dosha, the accumulation of the dosha may take place in the alimentary canal itself. Wherein the Kupita Dosha as such, that is Vilayana Rupa Vrithihi. So that is wherein the accumulation will be so much so that will be responsible for the swollen aspect. That means if the kapha dosha prakopa is going to take place, that will be leading to the swelling, abnormal swelling of the stomach itself. So pitta prakopa, in the sense we can able to expect the abnormal accumulation or swelling may take place in the small intestine, or otherwise the abnormal vata dosha that will be responsible for the abnormal accumulation more than normal of the large intestine. So Kupita dosha, in the sense, or Prakopita dosha in the sense there will be the accumulation will be take place in the alimentary canal itself. Now, how to differentiate the Sanchita Dosha and Prakopita Dosha? So, one, based on the Lakshana that is being mentioned, in case of the Sanchaya, it is being mentioned that Stabdha Purna Goshtata, Pitavabhasata, Mandoshmata, Cha Anganam, Gauravam, Alasyam, Chayakarana Viveshashchati Lingani Bhavanti. Whereas in case of the Prakopa Avastha, there will be the clinical manifestations such as Koshtatoda Sancharana, Amlika, Pipasa, Paridah, Annadvesha, Hridayat Jayante. So by that we can able to predict the differentiation of a Sanchita and Prakopita dosha. And another pathological difference, so that is Sanchita dosha, where there will be small accumulation may take place. Whereas in case of the Kupita dosha, the quantity of accumulation will be more than the one's capacity. So that is considered to be Kupita dosha. Now, what do you mean by Lina dosha then? Lina ekadesha sthitaha. So that means it is considered to be present in one particular part of the body. So, and it is considered to be dormant. So, where there will be part of the body we can able to identify the Lakshana, but the Lakshana are not identifiable by the person as such because they are not abnormally increased. That means they, in case of the Lina dosha, so we can able to observe the dormancy of this particular abnormal dosha that can be observed in the body. For example, here, if the person is, let's take the example, if the person is having the consumption of poha as such, so and that is being after a matter of the 6 hours later, so that is being observed in the small intestine. When you think about it, and the person is doing the running, etc. Because of that, we may expect the abnormal, or to say that the accumulation of the abnormal dosha may happen even in the small intestine also. So, in that particular sense, the Lina dosha or the dormant dosha that can be observed in the alimentary canal or that can also be observed in the either intravascular compartment or in the interstitial compartment or in the intracellular compartment, depending upon the nature of the Nidana Sevana as such. So that means if the person is doing excessive exercise as such, there may be a possibility of the presence of what you say that the pathogen or the what we can say the dosha as such, what we can say Lina dosha, that can be seen in the part where the person is doing the more and more amount of the activity. Or otherwise, if the person is taking the substances as such, for example, poha as such, so wherein if the person is taking, depending upon the quantity of the poha, so that get accumulated in the one particular part of the body itself. So that means because of the its lack of virulence, what we can say that is not responsible for the disease manifestation. So whenever if you think about it, this is actually here we can able to understand the concept of Vibhichari Hetu as such. As far as Paridhavamana Dosha is concerned, Kupitanami Doshanam Sharire Paridhavatam Yatra Sangha Kavai Gunyat Vyadhistatropajayate. As we have discussed, the accumulation of the dosha is going to take place in the alimentary canal in small quantity, that is considered to be Sanchita dosha. If that is happening in the much more quantity, more than the capacity of that particular cavity as such or ashaya as such, that is considered to be Prakopa Avastha as such. And when these particular Prakopita dosha that moves from either from the stomach or small intestine or large intestine into the intravascular compartment, so wherein that may enter into the body, circulating all over the body, that is the state considered to be Paridhavamana Dosha. What we can say that is Paridhavamana Dosha. And whenever there is any kind of the localization take place because of the Kavai Gunyasas, so that will be considered to be responsible for the disease manifestation. So that means from the alimentary canal, that is the capillary of the alimentary canal, till the capillaries of the cardiovascular system, if any kind of the pathogens are moving or dosha are moving, then that is being considered as Paridhavamana Dosha. Then NItya Samshleshita Dosha. That is Nitya Samshleshita Dosha in the sense what? So that is Sarvada Apsattvam. So that means this particular, in this particular stage, the abnormally vitiated dosha that will be continuously being observed and that will be mixed with dhatu or mala. For example, here it is a patient who is suffering from the, what you say, that the cerebrovascular accident, or what we can say the Pakshaghata, wherein the presence of the dosha will be observed throughout the day till the complete, what you say, that the subsidence of the symptoms. Till then, the person may be having the presenting complaint. That is what we can say, Nitya Samshleshita Dosha. Whereas Paricchedita Dosha in the sense what? Where continuous intermingling or intermixing of vitiated dosha along with the dosha may not be present. For example, in case of the, what you say, that the bronchial asthma, or what we can say tamakashwasa, wherein the clinical manifestations may be observed for when the person is having the excess accumulation of abnormal dosha. When that is getting diminished, then the person will be having a complete relief from the symptoms. Of course, that may not indicate that complete balance of the dosha as such, that will be the normal stage. That is what we can say Paricchedita Dosha. Nitya Samshleshita in the sense where the continuous dosha vitiation that is being present, whereas Paricchedita Dosha that will be observed as for the certain time period. Then Stambhita Dosha in the sense Stambhanam, Stambhayetet Gatimantam Chalandhruva. So that is stagnated dosha in any part of the body, whether be it is gastrointestinal tract, or whether it is in the intravascular compartment, or whether is it in the interstitial compartment, or whether is it in the intracellular compartment. In any of these, there may be a possibility of the stagnation of the dosha that is being termed as Stambhita Dosha. Whereas Vriddha Dosha in the sense the abnormal increase of the dosha that is going to get observed in the body, maybe due to the increase of Ruksha Guna, or maybe due to the increase of Laghu Guna, or maybe due to the increase of Kara Guna, or it may be due to the increase of Ruksha and Laghu Guna, or it may be due to the increase of Ruksha and Shita Guna, etc. So wherein we can able to identify the specific Lakshana, that is Karshya, Karshya, Ushna Kamitva, Kampa, Anaha, Chakrit Grahan, Bala Nidra, Indriya Bhramsha, Pralapa, Brahmadinata. By observing this, we can able to identify the person is having Vriddha Vata Dosha. When you think about the Kshina Dosha, that is the decrease of Ruksha or Laghu or Shita, etc. that is going to take place, wherein the decreased functioning of these different dosha may take place, which is identified by Angasya Sadhu, Alpam Bhashite Hitam, Samnya Muhastatha Shleshma Vruddhyuktamaya Sambhava, wherein the person may have the Kapha Vriddhi Janya Vikara in case of the Vatakshaya as such. Then you think about the Dushti of the dosha, Dushta Dosha in the sense that is the abnormal or Vaishamya of the dosha, that is abnormal abnormality in terms of its quantity that is going to get observed. Either that may be either Vriddha or Kshaya Avastha. In the sense, Vriddha Dosha or Kshaya Dosha or Vriddha and Kshaya Dosha can be considered as Vishama of the dosha or Dushti of the dosha or Dushta Dosha. When you think about the Bahu Dosha, Avipako Aruchihi Staulyam, Pandita Gauravam Klamaha, Pidaka Kothakanduna Sambhavo Aratirevacha, Alasya Shramadaurbalyam Durkhandyam Avasadakaha, Shleshma Pitta Samutklesho Nidra Nashvati Nidrata Tandra Klebya Mabuddhittum Ashasta Swapna Darshanam Balavarna Pranashascha Tripyato Brahmanairapi Bahu Doshasya Lingani Tasmai Samshodhanam Hitam. So this is how the Bahu Dosha Lakshana that can be seen. It is one of the very important abnormal dosha there, wherein we can able to identify the severity of the vitiated dosha. For example, Balavarna Pranasha. So that is the loss of strength as well as loss of complexion even after taking the proper nourishment. That is considered to be Bahu Dosha Lakshana itself. One of the Bahu Dosha Lakshana. Or some kinds of the Pidaka, Kotakanduna, some kind of skin manifestations as such. Or otherwise, Nidra Anasho, Ati Nidrata, lack of sleep or excessive sleep, etc. So these are the different Lakshana that are being mentioned, which is indicative of a Bahu Dosha Avastha. To sum up, the term dosha refers to bioenergy. So that is a kind of the force which is present inside the body. If it is normal, that is not responsible for any of the disease manifestation or discomfort manifestation may not be there, because the exposure to slightest causative factor that is responsible for the disturbed functioning of the body itself, which is identified by different terminologies, that is the Kupita Dosha or Sanchita Dosha, Leena Dosha, or the Paridhavamana Dosha, NItya Samshleshita Dosha, or Paricchedita Dosha, or Bahu Dosha, etc. So, that's all for today. What are the major key takeaways from today's discussion mentioned in the comment box below? And what is the one video that you'd like to hear in the coming days in this particular channel mentioned in the comment box below, and spread this particular video to maximum number of true Nidana learners so that we can make a huge movement out of this particular small message. That's all for today. Something more in the next video. Thank you.